I am here with author Susanne Strempek Shea. Her 10th book is coming out this spring. It is titled This is Paradise, A Mother's Grief, An African Village's Plight, and the Medical Clinic That Brought Fresh Hope to Both. Also with us, Mags Riordan, an educator from County Kerry, Ireland, and really now from Malawi, Africa. And it is your story told in the book. Thank you both for being with us. And Mags, I'm going to start with you. Let me ask you, it's painful for me even to ask you this question, but I know you lost 2 children in infancy, one in a car crash, one to sudden infant death syndrome. Years later, your grown 25-year-old son, Billy, who was, from what I've read, an amazing spirit, travels to Africa, drowns in Lake Malawi while swimming, a place which he'd emailed you about, and he said, "You've got to come and see this. It's paradise. This is paradise," the title of the book. When you do go a year later to place a memorial stone, you see the poverty, the lack of medical care for the people. You're moved to do something. We're now, I believe, marking about 10 years since you started the Billy Riordan Memorial Clinic in Cape Makalir, Malawi. What a decision to make. I think most of us would have gone, put the stone, crossed ourselves, said a prayer, and left, never to want to think about what had happened. You said, "I've got to help these people." Why?
Gosh, when you put it like that, yeah, it's
overwhelming.
Yeah, it is, but it didn't seem to be at the time. When I went, the first time I went, I just went with the idea, I'm going to go and see this place, because Billy had said to me, "You've got to go. You would like." That was his 3rd trip. That was his 3rd visit. So I just thought, well, I have to go and see it now. I absolutely have to go and see it. So the first time I went was, like you said, to just put a memorial stone and just get a feel for the place. And it was just one of these places that once you got a feel for it, you felt you had to do something.
Mm-hmm. Suzanne, how did you learn Mag's story, and what then draws you in 3.5 years writing This is Paradise?
Well, it was across the river at the Big E. I was helping a friend, Fran Ryan from Dingle in County Kerry, and Fran was part of a group that had come over, and Mags was in that group from her neighborhood, and Mags had a stand and was taking donations and telling the story of the trust and the clinic. And I would hear her tell, in a nutshell, the story you just told. And I would hear her tell it, and people would walk away. And then someone would come and look at the photos of the clinic and say, "Well, what's this?" And she'd tell the story again, and then they'd walk away. Maybe they'd leave $1, maybe they wouldn't. And I'd say, "I want to know more about this as a person, as a writer. I want to know the story, and I also want to know, who is this person? And what's that like to go and do this? How do you even do this?" You know, we hear about charities and trusts all the time, and it's probably, you know, somebody in an ivory tower, you know, sort of running the whole thing, but really not that involved, sort of a figurehead. And I learned this is a woman who's doing everything in this, you know, from soup to nuts of the whole thing. This is her effort, and she's carrying it out. It's just an amazing story, an amazing person as well.
Well, Mags Riordan, let me ask you, it's kind of beyond imagination in every sense, not only what you had suffered, but for any of us to imagine going halfway around the world from our home to a very foreign place in every sense of the word, and saying, "I'm going to create a clinic, I'm going to recruit an all-volunteer staff of doctors and nurses in this country that's a lot different from where I'm from," and no criticism meant or implied there, but it's a different world. How did you go in and get that started even and accomplished?
You know, when people ask me that question now, 10 years down the line, I kind of think, how did I do it, you know? I really do. By guess and by God, I suppose is one way of putting it. I went back to Ireland after the first trip, and I said, you know, I want to do something for the village. And initially, because my background is education, I thought I would do something in education. You know, build a school block, do something like that. But then on the 2nd or 3rd trip, there was an outbreak of cholera in the village. And it was only then I realised, gosh, there's no medical treatment here. I had gone with the Westerner's idea that everybody has access to medical care, which is what we're fortunate enough to have. And it was only then I realised that, you know, that's not actually the way it is. And I thought, well, what's the point in you know, putting a school if the children don't live long enough to go to school? And that was basically what was happening. So I thought, right, okay, we'll have to start at ground zero, and you just put up a medical clinic. I was fortunate in that my background, my family background is in medicine, so it didn't hold the same sort of aura that it does for people who come from a non-medical background. So I just thought, okay, we need a clinic, so we'll build a clinic. I went back to Ireland and people thought, lock her up, she's mad, you know. But people rallied round, and when I told them what was necessary, when I told them that children were dying of very simple diseases, and things like something as simple as gastroenteritis that a child was getting and it was dead 8 hours later, when you tell people that, they realise, you know, this is something that shouldn't be allowed to happen, and so people rallied round and people, you know, helped out financially, and we just went from strength to strength.
Suzanne, let me ask you, and correct me if I get this wrong, because I went back and checked it 2 or 3 times in the material you sent me. One doctor in the region for 800,000 people. I can't even wrap my mind around that. Getting to a hospital in a big city, if you could afford the transportation, which could be as much as a month's salary, was difficult and dangerous. It was life or death for these people without this clinic.
This was the region. What region would you say with the 800,000? What would that encompass?
That was the. You mean in terms of square miles, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, we're in what's known as the Mangochi district, which is a greater district, and there was one hospital there where we had one doctor. Now things are improving. Slowly but surely things are improving. But in our area, we have a direct catchment area of 15,000. There was nothing there. And there still is nothing other than us. We're still the only healthcare providers in the area.
And 5 cars to get those 15,000 if you have to get out to go anywhere. And there's not much better. There's really nothing beyond that for hours.
No, there isn't. There isn't. But having said that, I mean, just to give you an idea of the scale of the work today, we see in excess of 100 patients every day at the outpatient department, and then we see 1,000 patients every month for antiretrovirus, which is HIV treatment. So you know, you have all that going on. If we weren't there, none of these people would ever see a doctor, even today in 2014.
And as I read through what was available to me pre-publication, the first chapter of the book, the question you heard over and over again, and I suppose this is a remnant of, you know, Malawian people's experiences with Westerners and colonial history, but they kept asking you, why are you here? There was a mountain you had to get over before you got, I guess, their trust. Is that fair to say?
They even still ask. Yeah. They even still ask, you know. And I make a very short answer. I'm here because I can be here. I'm here because it's the right thing to do.
Suzanne, you say this book is about how one person truly can change the world.
It's funny, I was talking with your friend, my husband, Tommy Shea, the other day, and he said, you know, that truly in there, do you think the truly is needed? This is how we talk at my house, you know, you think that word's needed there? And so he was looking at something and he said, what? I said, you know, I'm trying to emphasize that it's normally a cliche, oh, a person can change the world, and you say, oh, it makes a great bumper sticker or a sign or a slogan, and it can be true. And this is one of those instances. It's true. This is someone who stepped forth and said, I'm going to do something. And I think for the rest of us, it's a great inspiration. Perhaps we can get involved with Mags's efforts. You know, she's always looking for volunteer doctors and nurses to spend what is a minimum of 4 months.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months. Other professionals are needed as well. If you can't do that, perhaps you can make a donation. There's an American arm of the charity which is based right here in West Springfield, and there's efforts like that. But maybe in your own village in America you can do something. But it's just a thing to go forth and say, what's needed, what do I see, and what can I do? And she did it.
Mags Riordan, what do you think it would mean? This was a place your son called paradise. What would it mean to him, do you think, to know that the Billy Riordan Memorial Clinic is there for these people in this place he came to love?
I think he'd be bemused and I suppose probably very happy.
You're making a difference.
Yeah, we are making a difference, yeah. But it's not just me, you know. We've got lots of volunteers. We've had about 400 volunteers have come and worked with us now over the years. Doctors and nurses who give up their time, and they give us their expertise, and everyone contributes to the effort.
Mags Riordan, thanks for what you're doing. And Susanne Strempek Shea, the book is This is Paradise. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.